Hello, all, and welcome to this afternoon's whiskey review, which I am dubbing the Fire Warning Whiskey Review. So, as you can see, my bed is messy as always, but part of the reason I have it piled up against the curtains so the curtains don't billow open. So, there's a hot, dry wind blowing today. So, yeah, this part of the state's under fire warning. So, what are we reviewing today? We are reviewing something very special. This is Old Grandad 114 bourbon. So this is barrel proof bourbon whiskey, and it is Old Grandad, which is renowned as one of the palatable bargain bourbons. But what's notable about this is that a whole large shipment came into Hawaii. And so people have been snapping these up because this is a cask strength whiskey that is available for under $50. In fact, under $40. In fact, I paid $22.50 for this, which is really, really cheap by Hawaii standards. Um, that's cheaper than a bottle of, say, Buffalo Trace, for example. And while it's basically a cask strength version of Old Grandad, which isn't really renowned as, a super fine whiskey, it is it's drinkable and it's interesting. Uh, so this is owned by Jim Beam, which is of course owned by Suntory, and the Old Grandad I went and did some reading. The Old Grandad on here is actually Basil Hayden, so the guy who's on got that glow, that whiskey bottle is shaped like a globe. But anyways, let's read the back, shall we? Old Grandad 114 is made from a unique recipe that uses more of the costly small grains which create a distinctive flavor and body. This fine bourbon is bottled at 114 proof, 57% ABV, to preserve every drop of that unique character. Look for a lot number on each bottle signifying the authenticity of Old Grandad 114. And this one says lot number 1, so I guess I'm lucky. So I didn't use a chilled glass because it's actually pretty darn hot today. And this is a little bit too intense for the Glencairn. It's so strong that, trying to nose from the Glencairn glass is kind of overwhelming. So I'm kind of hoping that this goes and, the coldness, cools it down a little bit, and the wideness helps the smell dissipate a little bit. So when it says it's costly small grains, what that means is that this is a high rye bourbon. So the bourbon percentage in the mash bill, well, I've seen conflicting takes on this. Some sources say 32%, others say 28%. Either way, it's fairly high rye percentage, and it really shows. To the point where I have a bottle of Rittenhouse rye right now, so an actual rye whiskey that seems to have a less powerful rye profile. The rye profile in this is incredibly strong. So let's go and look at this. A dark amber, almost copper color. Smells a bit rough, i.e., very high alcohol. But besides that, got sort of a cinnamon note, corn, vanilla, dried orange peel. And the really strong alcohol, almost medicinal note kind of dissipates as it, is out a bit. This needs to breathe a bit, I think. I'm gonna overpour. This is pretty much all I'm gonna be drinking today, because like this is a heavy ass pour right here. This is like about 3 drinks worth. You can already smell that rye spiciness starting to poke through before you even start the tasting. Onto the palate, shall we? The finish is just boom, cinnamon red hots. Alcohol, unsurprising. And then cinnamon red hots again. Long-lasting cinnamon red hots in that finish. And hints of oak. Very, very dry finish. In the front to mids, kind of that orange peel citrus note emerges and then gets submerged by that tidal wave of cinnamon spice, cinnamon red hots. And the sort of oakiness that's more perceptible on when you kind of like move your tongue around, because that spice is just still burning. Almost like even more than like cinnamon. There's almost hints of cayenne pepper there. Front also has that spice. It's kind of spicy and hot all the way through. And while the alcohol is quite hot, the drink's hot, obviously, being barrel strength, it actually really blends well with that cinnamon / red pepper spiciness there. The mids is where it briefly gets soft, and the bourbon notes kind of emerge there. It's soft, mellow, almost nutty like notes, peanutty like notes. Peanut like notes. Peanutty nuts. Peanutty note. That just sounds horrible. Absolutely horrible. Oh, man. I'm so professional in my reviews, aren't I? That peanut's also on kind of a top note there. It's not too spicy in the nose, thankfully. Otherwise, it would be overwhelming. It's very much hot spiciness, pepperiness on the palate. Now, being that this is a $22 whiskey, there is, besides the alcohol heat, there is almost like a chemical off note that emerges and pokes its head through, especially in the mid to finish. But that's kind of secondary compared to the notes that are supposed to be there. And it's not, it's not too off-putting, really. Especially given the intensity of all the other flavors there. As I drink it, more of the pepper's starting to sneak up to my nose. Hopefully my nose doesn't start running. If I didn't know this was a bourbon, I would have swore that this was like some sort of high proof rye whiskey. That's how much the rye really shows up there. So, is this a fine whiskey, that you're going to cultivate and sip? Oh, no, it ain't. But for a $22 whiskey, damn, this is a damn fine $22 whiskey. And that's what I got to say about that. And you can kind of tell I'm drinking on an empty stomach right now because I'm getting just all happy, all goofy, all loosey goosey. All right. So, in summation, my friends, what can we say about Old Granddad 114? One, it'll put some hair on your chest. Two, despite it being kind of whiskey that puts hair on your chest, it's got some interesting, intense taste notes there. And, at that price point, what do you got to lose? If you find it, give it a shot. If you can't find it, well, I don't know what to tell you there. Well, folks, I got to slow down on this one. I drank half of this and it's already starting to show, you know what I mean? Whiskey goes straight to the head, into the gut and straight to the head. So, Old Granddad 114, yeah, can't beat it at that price point, but just be alert. It's strong, and it's got a little bit of those cheap notes there, but you can look past that, and see the really interesting parts that really make up it and whatnot. I'm losing vocabulary, which means it's time for me to call it a night or afternoon. Cheer! Oh, here goes that gust of wind. Cheers.